All right, let's just dive right in. When we talk about software testing, most people picture the hands-on stuff. The clicking, the coding, all the bug hunting. But behind all of that, there's this entire world of documentation that is absolutely critical, but honestly, it's often really misunderstood.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I've seen it. Project folders just overflowing with documents. You've got your test plans, your cases, reports. It feels like so much paperwork. Is all of it really necessary? Or is it just, bureaucracy kind of getting in the way of the actual testing? That is the perfect question, and I totally get why you'd ask it. But let's start by just reframing that a little bit. It's not just paperwork. In our world, we call these things test artifacts. Try to think of them less like bureaucratic forms and more like the professional tools of a craftsman.
Pretty much. Test artifacts are the tangible results of our work. They are the collected evidence of the entire testing process, giving us this clear record from the very first strategy session all the way to the final report.
Okay, artifacts, that makes sense, but there are so many of them. Where do you even begin?
You start exactly where any good construction project starts, with the blueprint. And in our world, that blueprint is the test plan.
See, a test plan isn't just some schedule. It's our whole strategy. It defines our test basis. Basically, what are we even testing against? It lays out the test levels, deciding if we're testing one tiny little component or the entire system. It sets our coverage criteria to help answer that all-important question, have we done enough testing? And crucially, it establishes traceability so we can connect all the dots. Without this blueprint, we're really just testing in the dark.
Okay, so the test plan is the big high-level strategy. But how does that turn into the actual, hands-on keyboard stuff that a tester does every day?
That's a great question. That's where we go from the big blueprint to the specific recipes for what we're going to cook up. And we call those test cases.
And here's where we need to see a really key difference. An abstract test case is like having a general recipe idea, right? Let's verify the login works. It's reusable and it tells you what to test. But a concrete test case, well, that's the step-by-step instructions with the exact ingredients. Enter username user123 and password pass at hash, then click login and you should see the dashboard. It's the very specific how. You really need both for an effective testing kitchen.
Right, that makes sense. So you follow the recipe, the concrete test case. But what happens when the cake doesn't rise? What do you do when a test actually fails?
Well, that's when you stop being a chef and you become a detective. When a test fails, you file a defect report.
And look, this isn't just some casual note you pass along. It's a formal process. It has a clear life cycle. First, a defect gets logged as new. Then, it's opened and assigned to a developer. Once they think they fixed it, the status flips to fixed. Then, and this part is key, it comes right back to a tester to be retested. It's only when we can verify that the fix works and that it hasn't broken anything else, only then do we finally mark it as closed. This whole structure makes sure nothing ever falls through the cracks. Okay, I'm really starting to see it now. The test plan, the test cases, the defect reports, but they still kind of feel like separate pieces of a really big puzzle.
They are, and the glue that holds that entire puzzle together is probably the most powerful concept in all of test documentation: traceability. Let me show you how that golden thread works in the real world.
So it all starts with one single, clear business requirement. In this case, R102, the price has to update when a user adds or removes an optional extra. It's simple, but it's a critical piece of how the thing should work. Okay, so to check that, we design a very specific test case, TC102.3, and you can even see the naming. It's directly linked to the requirement. The goal here is simple. We're going to deselect an extra and then verify that the price goes down like it's supposed to. But, when we run that test case, it fails. The price just stays the same. So we file defect D451, which is linked directly back to the test case that found it. And right there, boom, you can see the golden thread. Requirement R102 is tested by test case TC102.3, which then uncovered defect D451. It's a perfect, traceable chain of evidence. And this traceability thing, it's not just for keeping things organized. It's for control. It's for confidence. It lets us look at any requirement and ask, is this covered by a test? It shows us exactly which tests failed and what the impact is. It proves to everybody involved that we've been thorough.
Wow. Okay.
That's the aha moment for me. It's not a pile of paperwork at all, it's an interconnected system. Every single artifact has a purpose, and they all link together to build this complete picture of quality.
Exactly. You've gone from seeing them as paperwork to seeing them for what they really are, power tools.
So when you put it all together, the value is just immense. These artifacts help us proactively reduce risk by catching things early. They make sure we have complete coverage, so no requirement gets forgotten. They create this common language that just makes communication better for the entire team. And this whole documented process, it becomes a knowledge base we can reuse in the future. So ultimately, good artifacts don't just find bugs. They save time, they save money, and they protect the company's reputation by building quality in from the very start.
So we've seen just how fundamental these artifacts are. But the software world is always speeding up, right? We have agile sprints, continuous delivery, and it leaves us with a really critical question for the future. In this super fast-paced environment, how do these artifacts have to evolve? How do we maintain all that valuable traceability and structure without slowing down innovation? That right there is the core challenge for every single modern tester.